actually think I want these over here. I'll put this over here. Put this over here. What's going on, everybody? Hey, hey, hey. Just getting set up. See if our audio levels are okay. See who's live here. We got the live chat set up. How's our focus? Is that good? What's going on, everybody? Say hello, if you would. Let me know how the audio is. Can you hear me? I'm assuming you can hear me. I'm hoping you can hear me. Do I need to juice that audio a little bit, or is it okay the way it is? And you have to forgive me. I'm going to drink a little coffee while we chat because I need my coffee. I'm a little behind schedule this afternoon, I should say. Dave Martinez says yes. So the audio, you can hear me. How are the levels? Are they okay? Levels good? Sweet. I apologize for drinking coffee on the live chat, but I'm telling you, if I don't, I'll have a wicked headache by the time this is done. So I've got to have some coffee. I apologize. It's kind of tacky. I hate, doing it, but this is what drug addiction does to people. Yeah, man. Dave, is it just me and you today? Boy, and that slurping sound is obnoxious. Don't worry, I won't be drinking this the whole time. I promise. I'll have to back away from the camera. How's the focus? That's the other thing. One of the issues about this live streaming is I'm using a Canon 80D, and you have to turn off autofocus for it to work properly during the live stream. And I think if I turn it on, it shows. Here, let me try it. I think it shows the autofocus square. Do you see the autofocus square? Hold on. Yeah, see? So I don't want that showing the whole time, so I've got to turn it off just because that's kind of obnoxious. There we go. Just us, Dave. Go get yourself a cup of coffee. That's all right. I'm sure some other folks will show up just now. Dave, what part of the country are you in? Where are you, man? Are you in the U.S.? Are you in South America, Europe? Talk to me. The other thing I'm dealing with too, I set up my laptop to do this, and so before I was doing it on my desk machine, which does not get too hot, so it doesn't start throwing off a lot of heat. The fan doesn't start, humming away. The laptop sounds like it's an airplane about to take off, so I've tried to push it away from the mic a little bit. Hopefully that audio isn't an issue. Let me know if it's an issue, if you can hear like this loud fan in the background or if it's noisy. But I tried to push that off to the side just so that it's not causing too much noise. I had it kind of like right under the mic, and it was on the test, it was too much. You're in the U.S. Cool. I'm up in upstate New York. And it's been cold lately. I can't wait for winter to be over with. I think at some point we're going to move. We're going to just get out of New York. All right, Dave, it's like me and you and one other person, I think, out there. Say hello. If you're here, say hi. Talk to us. So I was hoping today to talk a little bit about the Escobar fold. I put a video out a few days ago about Escobar Inc. and the Fold 2 and my take. Hey, Brian, what's going on? Good to see you. Nice to see you. All right, so we got a few folks. We got some folks showing up for the live stream. I'm doing it a little bit earlier today because there's a big soccer match on. I don't know if you guys care about soccer, but Barcelona's playing Real Madrid at about 3 o'clock Eastern. Real Madrid and Barcelona, when they play each other, it's called a Clasico. It's like the Battle Royale. Probably two of the world's greatest teams battling it out for dominance in the Spanish La Liga. So I can't miss that. I have to watch that. That's on at 3. So I thought we'd do the live stream a little earlier, just so that I could have time to watch that. I want to watch it live. Although I wanted to order a pizza. This is stuff you need to know about me. I wanted to order a pizza to be delivered in time for the game, but I spent so much time kind of getting set up with the new laptop that it got away from me. I didn't have time to order that pizza. Yeah, it is a must-watch, isn't it, Dave? It's going to be awesome. Are you a soccer fan? And if so, what teams do you like? I'm a huge Barcelona fan. Love Barcelona. And I got the opportunity to go to Barcelona about 2 years ago with my wife, and what a city. My goodness. I mean, we left Barcelona and we're like, how do we move to Spain? How do we move to Spain? It was just so cool. Love Spain. Love Europe. Love America. Love Africa. I like traveling, actually. Yeah, so Brian, what are you up to today? What do you got going on? You in for the whole stream? You here for like the hour and a half chit chat? Maybe it's only 30 minutes. I mean, if it's just the 3 or 4 of us, maybe we won't stay on as long. But what do you got going on? Barcelona is beautiful. Yeah, it really is. Just an amazing city. The people were great, the food, the architecture, the city itself just very well laid out. These huge, broad streets with massive sidewalks and just beautiful courtyards and trees. I mean, it was just amazing. I honestly could live there. I don't know how well I would do. You go somewhere and it's exciting when you're on vacation, and then you're like, okay, the honeymoon wears off, and I don't like this and I don't like that. So I'm sure there's a lot of things about Barcelona and Europe in general that I would not like as a free market American kind of guy. But man, what a city. Brian, you're in for the long haul. All right, buddy. We'll see how long it ends up being. Hey, we got some more people on there. Talk to me. If you're here, just give me a shout. Say hi. Let me know you're here. We're going to talk a little bit today about Escobar Inc. and that Fold 2 video that I put out, and just some more thoughts. I want to talk a little bit too about Hanlon's razor. Hanlon's razor. If you've ever heard of that. People have often heard of Occam's razor. I want to talk about Hanlon's razor, and I think it's related to the Fold 2 story, and I may end up relating a personal story around Hanlon's razor that's kind of recent, but yeah. Brian says he's avoiding going outside and installing new feeders for the girls, and I believe the girls are donkeys. You got a couple donkeys, if I remember correctly, or are they? What's the difference between a donkey and a mule? They're not mules, are they? I think they're donkeys. I think a mule cannot breed, if that's correct. Like a mule's sterile. It's like a cross between a horse and a donkey, maybe. But donkeys are their own breed. They're fertile. They can reproduce. I believe that's the situation. NWA Saba, hello, my friend. I'm glad you're here, buddy. Thanks for joining. Who else is here? Give me a holler in the chat. Let me know you're hanging out. I'm hoping my buddy Pi Ends with Zero shows up. He's been hitting me. He's like, you got to do more live streams. He's coming out of the Czech Republic, if I remember correctly, but hopefully he'll show up too. How's the focus? The audio quality, I think, is okay according to Dave. Omar Krakatoli. Omar Krakatoli. That's a great name. Hey, man. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you along. Hopefully the video is in focus. The audio is good quality. I gotta tell you, I kind of like doing these. And there's the great thing of like doing a creator video where you sit, you kind of figure out your topic, you do some research, you outline it, you record it, you do the editing, and that's fun. But man, live streams are pretty cool because you just jump in, we can have some chit chat, have a little bit of fun. It's easy. I mean, actually setting up the gear and setting up the software is a pita. I mean, it's a royal pain in the butt. But once you got it set up, it's kind of fun. And I like being able to interact. That's the cool thing. I mean, I can interact in the comments when I put a video out, but man, interacting live is kind of fun. Hey, we got Eddie. Eddie, thanks for joining. What's going on, my friend? Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for saying hi. Dave Martinez, video quality is as good as well. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. Omar, I'm glad to see you too, buddy. Thanks for joining. So we got a handful of folks. Last live stream, which was my first live stream, was pretty cool. I had a lot of fun. I think, at any given time, there's about 20, 30 people. We got a few hundred views, maybe a couple hundred views. Kind of cool. It was a fun experience. And I don't expect every time I do a live stream it's going to be well attended, but they're kind of cool. By the way, for those of you just joined, I am drinking a cup of coffee. I apologize. This isn't like I'm not going to kick my feet up and eat a ham sandwich while we're talking, but I had to have some coffee. I didn't want to get in on like an hour and a half live stream without a cup of coffee, because by the time I finish, I'd have a wicked headache. There's that caffeine junkie withdrawal issue. I had a cup of coffee when I got up this morning around 5:30. It's now about 1 o'clock Eastern, and I just need that second cup to keep the machine going. So I apologize if I'm drinking some coffee. How about some questions before we get into the whole Escobar Fold 2, etc. Any questions out there that I can address in the meantime while we're waiting for other folks to show up and kind of get into it? Anybody? YouTube's telling me I got to dial back my bit rate. I'm too high. They want me at 2,500 and I'm at 7,800. Whoops. Got that high quality stream going. I'm going to take a look at my settings real quick over here. I don't know if I can do it on the fly, if it's going to cause an issue. I think I can do it on the fly. So output, talk to me. What do they want? They say they want, 2,800. Let's give them what they want. Hopefully that doesn't break anything. I have to all right. So hopefully that keeps YouTube happy. I want Susan to be happy. The CEO of YouTube want her to be real happy. So what's going on, guys? Throw some questions at me. What do you got for me? You could ask me anything. Why am I bald? Anybody on the live stream actually buy in, put an order in for an Escobar Fold 2? I'm just curious. Or a Fold 1? I'd be curious to know if anybody threw some money at the fine people at Escobar Inc. It's kind of nuts to me. I don't know how you can run a company with that name. I mean, he is just such an infamous guy, Pablo Escobar. And you wonder, where is the money coming from? Is this money left over from some of the drug stuff that they hid? Is this just general family wealth? Who knows? Yeah, so Brian wants to know, did I take the bike out yet? And the answer is no. There's last few days have been kind of cold here, like in the 20s Fahrenheit. That's below freezing for folks that are not in the U.S., well below freezing. Freezing here is 32. It's been in the 20s. Actually, today's up in the high 30s. We did last week get into the 40s and 50s. I did not take the bike out, mainly because we put salt on our roads to clear the ice so that you can drive on them. And until you get a good rain that washes the salt, there's a lot of salt dust on the roads. And, you can imagine what salt does to chrome. So I will take the bike out early in the year. I'll ride in March if it's in the 50s, but only after there's been a decent rain and the roads have been kind of rinsed of the salt, because I just don't want to get the bike full of salt. And when it's cold enough, it's hard to wash the bike afterwards. You take the bike out, you go for a ride, and then you can't wash it or rinse it because it's just cold out. So no, I have not had the motorcycle out, but I'm looking forward to it. I was kind of tempted. I've got the battery still on the trickle charger, and I've seen some people out on bikes. I'm jealous right now, but not yet. Yeah. Omar wants to know, what are my thoughts on the coronavirus? Yeah, I'm actually working on a video regarding the coronavirus, and specifically, I'm kind of taking the angle. I'm interested in not so much the health implications of the coronavirus, but the kind of, what does the coronavirus say about globalization? What does it say about our reliance on global supply chains? I mean, this is the thing. I mean, yeah, a lot of people are getting sick. I don't know. There's like 80 some odd thousand people sick. I want to say over 2,000 people have died. I think what I'm hearing so far, and I'm just doing preliminary research. I'm hoping to get a video out, this week. But uh, mainly people that are affected as far as their mortality, as far as living or dying, are people my age and older. And you're in your 50s and older, and you are compromised. There's some issue. Maybe you've got cancer. Maybe you've got other problems, health issues. You get the coronavirus. Now you're in a world of hurt because your body's already behind the eight ball, and you're fighting for your life. Now, when it comes to everybody else, I'm hearing all kinds of stories. It's not that bad. It's not a big deal. In fact, I'm even hearing reports that small children and infants are not getting it, or they're not susceptible to it. It's just kind of weird. So there's a lot to talk about. I even wonder, like, where did this thing come from? Is this just some virus? I'm not buying the, somebody ate bat soup or something at some Chinese market, especially knowing that there is a Chinese kind of bio weapon lab in Wuhan where this thing broke out. So it's hard not to just go conspiracy theory on this. But that said, and I don't believe that the Chinese released it on purpose, but just that maybe something got out that wasn't supposed to get out. But I'm interested in the impact on the global supply chain, and specifically, where's this going? But what does that mean for the global supply chain long term? I have some clients actually that rely on international products to be shipped in that they sell, and they're scrambling right now trying to figure out, what do we do? Do we try to find a U.S. manufacturer, et cetera? Now, in some instances, you can do that pretty quickly. But you think about a company, let's say you've got parts that are injection molded. That means that you have to have molds made. Molds can take months. There are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to make. So let's say you've got your mold sitting in China. China's shut down. Maybe you're in Vietnam. Vietnam's shut down. Now you're saying, okay, we've got to get these parts. And you think of an auto manufacturer, they have 3,000 parts on average that goes into a vehicle. 3,000 parts. What are they supposed to do? How do they set up injection molding, et cetera, wire harnessing in the US to try to avoid this exposure to the international supply chain? How do you remedy that quickly? So if you're a smaller business and you really can just quickly and nimbly make a shift, yeah, okay, great. But honestly, I don't know what folks do in these bigger, more complex businesses that have gone totally global. And on top of that, you do this kind of like just in time, where they're not carrying a lot of inventory. They're like, oh, we only get it when we need it. So we're not going to sit and have the Chinese send us a ton of this. We just keep getting shipments, trickle. We use them up. We don't keep much inventory. That's great for accounting. It's great for short-term cash flow issues. But man, what do you do? What do you do when the world shuts down and you're screwed and you can't just quickly shift gears? So yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on it. I'm working on a video. I'm hoping that'll come out in the next week or this week, and we'll see where that goes. But great question. Thanks for asking. What do you guys think? By the way, let me just take a look at the questions over here. But what do you guys think? So let's see. NWA Saba says, it's nice to remind you now time I am in Iran. Yeah, NWA, I'm glad you said that. Iran is, in the news, they're saying you guys are really hit hard. And of course, the news coming out of Iran isn't the greatest. So I'm really curious. I don't know the death rate, et cetera, coming from some of these other countries that aren't reporting to the West. I'm hearing that the disease isn't that dangerous, as far as like, it's not going to wipe out the world, the population, but it's shutting stuff down. And you wonder politically what the implications are going to be too. So, dude, I hate to say thoughts and prayers, but man, I'm with you on this, brother. I think that's got to be something. I'd be curious to know what you're seeing there in Iran. Yesh Jadhav. Hey, I'm brother of Bavesh Jadhav. Yeah, you were. He was on the stream last week. Once you mentioned him on your Q&A video, you're doing a great job. Thank you, and I'm glad that you're here. We're getting the whole family together. Get everybody around that those streaming laptops. But glad you're here. Thanks for joining. And apologies. Obviously as a Yankee, I struggle to pronounce certain types of names. Omar, I almost bought an Escobar fold. You almost did. Yeah, I almost did too, just out of kind of curiosity, out of the novelty of it. I'm on a total Apple platform, so for me, it's like I don't even know what I'm going to do with the stupid thing. But it was like I feel like I should just buy one for OG thug bragging rights. Although I don't know what I would do with an Android-based Galaxy Fold. But hey, for $399, of course, $399, that's a lot of money. That buys a lot of pizza. So yeah, Pi ends with 0. Hey man, you're here. Good to see you. Let's not forget companies playing it safe and halting deployment of investment capital buying. Do you think there will be a recession following the virus? So Pi ends with 0. Here's the thing. I'm not qualified. I'm not like, I don't have an inside view, but I'm going to tell you right now, yes, I do think that there's going to be a recession. I don't think, like I say, I don't think. I'm hoping it's not like 2008, 2009. But the thing is, the market's already kind of frothy. The market, at least in the U.S., the stock market's super high, just keeps climbing and climbing. And I think it's based on some good fundamentals, but not others. I mean, a lot of it's just goodwill, excitement feeling. I think the market is not necessarily rational in the short term. I think it's rational in the long term, but in the short term, it's not. And it doesn't seem very rational to me. I don't know if we're sitting on some big time bomb like the subprime issue that we had in 2008, 2009, but it's definitely a balloon. And I can see the coronavirus being the thing that pops that balloon. Now, do we go back to the Stone Age where we're rubbing sticks together for warmth to make fire? I don't think so. I'm not worried or nervous. I think some of the fundamentals of just not so much the stock market, but just the economy are healthier. And, but yeah, I think that it's going to cause some type of a recession. How deep, I just don't feel confident in saying. But it's the fear factor. The media is all wound up. The countries and the governments are wound up. People are scared. And, the market is ultimately confident. So it doesn't take a lot for some kind of domino effect where we're all sitting here going, we killed this market. How do we get it back to life? Well, I'd be curious to know what you think. I think you've probably got a perspective. It'd be interesting to hear what you have to say. So NWA Saba, there is a novel named The Eyes of Darkness written in 1981. Wuhan virus was predicted in that book. Are you serious? The Eyes of Darkness. Now that's fascinating to me. I'll have to check that out. The Eyes of Darkness. Thanks for throwing it out there. 1981, I was probably, I had a full head of hair and it was a dark color. I was playing basketball in high school, dating girls and having a pretty good life. Couldn't wait to get my first car probably then. So I'll check that out. Brian says, did SARS or H1N1 shut down global commerce or have future implications? No, it didn't. But for some reason, SARS and H1N1 didn't seem to shut the economy down. If you look at China's shutting down all sorts of regions where you've got factories. I don't remember SARS or H1N1 shutting down regions where whole regions were quarantined, where you were instructed you've got to stay in your home, like whole cities of people just staying in their homes. So there's something about this virus, and I'm trying to get at the root of it for the video. It's a lot more virulent. It's not maybe as deadly as some of these, but it seems to be kind of taking over whole regions, shutting down factories, cities, and commerce, and I think people are scared because they don't know how to control it. I think H1N1 and SARS, they had a little bit better handle on what to do, although they didn't really handle it well. People were still terrified. But no, I don't think it did. But this seems a little different, and I'm not sure how. I'm trying to get at that, I think, for the video. NWA Saba, yes, there is a city called Qam in Iran. That's the real mess. Yeah, absolutely. Pines with 0. Czech Republic is doing 10 tests per day on a 10 million population, and it has 3 confirmed cases. Who knows how many cases we have? Interesting. And then he continues, 2008 was a different problem. I agree with that. With collateralized mortgages cracking. Yeah, I agree with you. I guess my question is obviously we don't have the subprime, the collateralized mortgages, but do we have an issue a different issue. Why is the economy doing so well? Why is it so strong? Is it based on sound fundamentals, or are there other things driving it? And could Corona pop that bubble just as easily? I do think it's going to have an effect. There's no way when you start shutting down whole regions of China, which is essentially the world's manufacturing hub, they're making everything that all of us use. There's no way that that's not going to have a ripple effect. Now, again, I don't know how deep, but you can't get past this without some type of impact. Omar, all supermarkets in Germany are almost completely empty because of everyone is scared. Yeah, I mean, it's all about confidence, isn't it? Hey, Christian Frederico, how you doing, man? Look, you can run a country with $1.5 trillion deficit someday it bursts. Hey, good point. I'd like to run my home in a deficit, but obviously that'd last like maybe a few weeks, and then I'm out on the streets. Actually, I would not like to run it in a deficit. It's not a good feeling to be in debt, but you're absolutely right, Christian. Welcome to the stream, by the way. Piance Zero, the slowdown might bring the market cap closer to GDP levels. It might be more of a correction than a recession, right? So maybe not a bad thing if it doesn't pick up momentum. I agree 100%. I mean, I'm good with a slowdown. I'm good with a correction. Recession that is hard to kind of get out of, totally different thing. We'll have to wait and see. Omar Krakatoli. Am I saying your name right? I'm probably butchering your name. I apologize, Omar. But I don't think the virus is that bad, but the media is making it that big of a deal. I agree with you. I don't think it's that bad. Of course, I don't have it, and I don't have anybody next door that has it, so maybe I'm not as worried as I should be. But I don't think it's as bad as the media likes to make it. Like nothing. The media, it's so funny. Like they get so precious. They clutch their pearls every time Donald Trump takes a shot at them. They talk about how important they are in America to justice and freedom, et cetera. But the media is full of crap. Let's face it. I mean, they're driven by money just like anybody else. I mean, I don't know why the individual journalists get into the work that they get into, but it's all about money. You can't be CNN. I mean, how many billions of dollars does CNN make? How many billions of dollars does it take just to run CNN? So you can't tell me that these guys are pure and that the info they give us is only for the public good. They're there to make a buck. And let's face it, human beings, we're broken in a lot of ways. Like we love, sensational stuff. We want to see people get hurt. We want to hear bad news. We get, you want to talk about a story like somebody helps an old lady across the street. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about that. But man, did you hear how so-and-so cheated on their wife? Everybody wants to hear about it. So the media is founded on providing information that gets people to engage and to watch it. And so a news story like the coronavirus, which is a real story, I'm not trying to downplay it, but they're not going to give you a reasonable, rational, sound, kind of temperate view of anything. I don't care what media source it is. I don't care if it's right-leaning media, if it's left-leaning media. They got to sell ad space. They've got to keep our eyes glued to those televisions and videos and radio programs, and that's how they do it. They sell the things that create anxiety for us. And the other thing too, if you've ever studied psychology, human beings, we are actually wired more for negative stimuli. So you can have a friend, think about it. Let's say you do 10 wonderful things or let's say you do 9 wonderful things for your friend, 9 like really wonderful things, but you do one bad thing. You talk behind their back, you flirt with their girlfriend. They're not going to remember the 9 things. It's just human nature. We're wired this way, and it's part of it's for our protection, but they're not going to remember the 9 great things. The thing that's going to really stand out to them is that one time that you screwed them over, that you mistreated them. We are wired. We are designed to pick up on negative stimuli, and part of that is it protects us. If you put your hand on a hot stove, you will never forget that the rest of your life. It's a negative stimuli, but it's to protect you so that you can live. And if somebody treats you really well, but they screw you over once, in the back of your mind, I can't trust that person. And there's a reason. It helps you survive in the future. So, we're just wired to get negative stimuli. Then you take the media, who is incentivized to provide lots of negative stimuli 24/7 around the clock. And the third factor is how much we love to just consume. We're just always looking for content to consume. We are consumers. Don't like that, but that's the way things are. And what you end up with is a really negative, fear-filled global community and individual society. So that's my rant on that. But yeah. Let's take a look. Yeah, bad news does sell. Piance with Zero asks, do you think they're trying to solve the problem of becoming less relevant as compared to YouTube, all the podcast space? Maybe, and maybe that's part of it. I think, I definitely think that's part of it. But on the other hand, like they've been doing this before YouTube was an issue. I mean, you go back to print, extra, extra, the kid on the street corner hawking newspapers. It was, bad news sells. Unless you're in the midst of a war, and D-Day happens and we beat back the Germans, but it's still sensational. We're always looking for sensationalism. Again, folks have just joined. I am knocking back a coffee. I apologize. I know it's rude to have you in my home but not offer you a coffee, but I got to drink it or else I'm going to have a headache. So I apologize in advance for my uncouth behavior. But please know, it's backed by a depth of love for all of you. NWA Saba, this is the excerpt from the novel. Quote, they call the stuff Wuhan 400 because it was developed at the RNDA labs outside the city of Wuhan. And it was the 400th viable strain of man-made micro. Yeah, that's something. 1981. That's crazy. 1981. I was a teenager. Escobar coffee, says Brian. Yeah, man. That's great. Escobar. You know what? It seems like all the YouTube influencers like Emma Chamberlain and Peter McKinnon, they've all got their own coffee brand. Escobar, I mean, he's down there in Latin America. Why don't they have a coffee brand? I'm wondering and I think that coffee was pretty good for smuggling cocaine because it would mask the odor maybe for the dogs. I don't know. They have to have a coffee brand. They have to own coffee plantations, please. Yeah, so Pions with Zero, being eaten once, Trump's not being eaten 9 times. I'm not sure I follow you on that one, but yeah, I think I get what you're saying there. Part of a novel. Yeah, so guys, let's talk a little bit about this Escobar fold. So I put this video together, and essentially coffee from Colombia is great, Christian. I agree 100%. Now, I tend to be more of an African coffee drinker. I believe this is a Tanzanian, but usually my go-to is Ethiopian, Yirgacheffe, or however you say it. I love Ethiopian coffee. Although I do like Central American coffee too. I'll go for a Panamanian, a Guatemalan. Yeah, so there's all that. So the Escobar fold, I put this video together because I just want to do a commentary. And if you haven't seen the video, you can check it out on the channel. I'm sure all you guys have seen it. But if I put it together, I just want to do some commentary saying, hey, here's what I think is going on with the fold. I think that this is kind of a play. They're positioning themselves to be the champions of the common man and woman, the disaffected, disenfranchised, folks that don't have what they feel is a sense of power in this world. It's essentially a Galaxy Fold 2, which I think retails around $1,700-$1,800. It sounds like they were able to get a hold of these Fold 2s at quite a bargain. I think they looked for overstocks. They looked for returns. I think they're able to buy up a cache of these phones. Now, here's what I think. A lot of people in the comments, and I actually got emails directly. I mean, people were pretty strident saying, you're an idiot. You should do more research before you put these out. You're encouraging people to get ripped off. This is a scam. And they were pretty hostile about it. And I'm cool with that. Look, I'm not above reproach, obviously. I'm a YouTube creator, but I make a couple dollars here and there from AdSense money, but I'm not getting paid to do these videos. I've got to run a full-time gig. I'm not going to a 40-hour-a-week job. I'm an independent consultant. I've got some pretty good-sized responsibilities with clients, and I'm working more than a 40-hour job. So you can imagine the time it takes to put together a video. I don't always have the time to do the level of research that I'd like to, but I often just push myself to say, look, you've got to get something out there. So when someone criticizes me, I get it. I'm not quick to defend myself and say, how dare you? Yeah, I could have done more research. So as people are saying, you should have done research, this thing's a total scam. There's all kinds of Reddits about this, etc. I started doing a little digging. But I'm not convinced this is necessarily a scam. And I mentioned Hanlon's razor, and I put it in the title here. You know, Hanlon's razor, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's kind of an axiom. It essentially says, never attribute to malice that which can be attributed to stupidity. Never attribute to malice that which can be attributed to stupidity. Now, my takeaway from that is to say we often find ourselves in a situation where we're having to assess a situation. We don't have all the data. We're looking at, like, as an independent consultant, often I have to reach out, I have to sell. I might be trying to connect with an owner of a business or a CEO, an executive. I'm reaching out to that person. Maybe I've done some work. I've sent a proposal over and I'm waiting. I haven't heard from them. The natural inclination is to kind of attribute malice to that. He's not calling me back on purpose. He's ignoring me. He's decided to go with somebody else. We just kind of have these things that go through our heads, and we build these stories. We tell ourselves stories around the situation. And often, going back to this whole thing about negative stimuli, we tend to assume the worst. We go to the kind of negative side of things. That's this predilection that we have as human beings to the negative, not only negative stimuli, but to assume the worst. Now, I'm not saying that everyone assumes the worst. There are some people that either by natural kind of genetic disposition or personality, or even through just the work that they've done in discipline, are a lot more positive minded. They just look at the world more positively. But most of us tend to assume the worst, especially if it's how we're being treated. And so, I look at this and I know that there's a predisposition to assume the worst. And I think, when I look at this Escobar Inc., it's easy to assume the worst. So what's going on is a lot of people have paid their money. They haven't gotten their phones. They paid money in October, November, December. There was a Fold 1. People threw money at it. Then they got this note, oh, you're being upgraded to a Fold 2. So all of a sudden the Fold 1 is like a non-existent thing. And people are jumping in and saying, well, I didn't want to wait this long. I'm wondering what's going on. Like, they're not getting anything. Some people received a book. Brian, you joked about that in the comments. The book is all about the Escobar family story, which I think Roberto, Pablo's brother, wrote. Talks about time in prison, etc. But they're not getting the phone. And so people are assuming the worst. A lot of guys on Reddit. Now, look, this company, this Olaf Gustafsson, that's young, 20-something, CEO of Escobar. You got Roberto, who's older now. And, there's the whole Escobar, I'll call it mystique. That's a polite way to, there's just this kind of cloud that hangs over them. And Olaf's style is a little strange. He's not the most easygoing, charismatic CEO. He's a bit brash. There's a lot of stuff going on with this company that would make you assume the worst. They tried to sue the folks at Netflix for the Narcos series, saying you're ripping off our intellectual property. We're going to close you down. They've threatened to sue Apple for $30 billion. They're talking about destroying Samsung. I mean, there's just a lot of just nonsense. There's some nonsense with Bitcoin as well. I'm not quite clear on that whole thing. But the company has not behaved, the company has behaved a bit erratically. They haven't behaved professionally in the ways that we're used to corporations behaving. So the assumption is that this is a scam. They're putting this phone out there just to get your money, and they're going to screw you over. I'm going to take a quick look at comments before I go further here. What is you're saying? Never mind. Thanks for your effort. I'm really enjoying your videos. Thank you, Omar. I'm wondering if you had to bounce. Pions with Zero says, whether it's a scam or not, how do you explain consumers getting over a criminal lord branding? Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second too. In the past, like the Che Guevara stuff, why isn't that actually a problem for the respective demographic? Agreed. We'll talk about that in a minute. And he continues, I'd be really surprised by the Escobar family not doing fair business. Okay. I think maybe there's some sarcasm in there. And in NWA Saba, if the Esco Fold has the Samsung hardwares within, then a question mark. For the laundry purpose, they could do a Chinese contract with Xenomi or etc. Cheaper, but why Fold? So anyway, here's what I think happened. This is just totally a guess. I have no inside info on this. I think that they are opportunistic. This is not a company with plans. And if I look back at my video, the only thing I guess I wish I did was spend more time saying, just kind of at the outset, this is commentary. It's kind of fun, but I don't think that this is a legit. It's a legit company. It's a legal company, but this is not a company that's ever going to become a real player. I overstated the lifestyle brand, et cetera. But here's what I think they did. I think these guys are opportunistic. They see a thing and they just try to make a buck. They saw a thing with narcos. They thought, let's sue them. Let's see if we can make some money. I think this Olaf Gustafsson, who's kind of pulling the strings there, I think he's opportunistic. He's a young guy. He figures out how to get a little bit of publicity. He tries to help Donald Trump, and he's attacking Donald Trump. Oh, they're suing Elon and the Boring Company for the flamethrower. Oh no, that was their intellectual property first. These are just opportunistic guys, okay? I think they found a cache of Fold 2s for cheap. They figured out how to buy a bunch of Fold 2s cheap. That's my guess. And they said, hey, let's throw some gold tape stickers on it, etch it, put Pablo's face on there, and let's sell it as the Fold 2. Now, I still stand by the observation that I think they're trying to position with the disaffected to say, hey, look, Pi ends with zero, your question, a lot of people don't view drug money, they don't view gangsters, outlaws as bad. In fact, a lot of people, more and more people, identify with these folks. They identify with the mafia, they identify with killers, they identify with lawbreakers. It's just becoming more and more popular. If you look at the kind of postmodernist view of the world, we love the anti-hero. In fact, even our heroes are flawed. We never have kind of the virtuous hero anymore. Our heroes have dark secrets. Our heroes are conflicted. This is just a matter of postmodernism, that everything is relative. Everything is relative. And so I think a lot of people identify with that outlaw culture, and they love it. I mean, I think this is one of the reasons that Donald Trump won. He is establishment. The guy's a multimillionaire, multi-billionaire. He has built high rises and hotels, et cetera. It's not like he's an outsider, but he was able to position himself as an outsider, and that worked for him. And a lot of folks resonated with that. I think it's also the reason I mentioned in the video why Bernie's doing relatively well. He's positioned as an outsider, and people resonate with that. They want an anti-hero. They're sick of the establishment. So I think the Escobar people found a bunch of these phones. I don't know how many, but they found a bunch of these phones, and they just decided, look, let's put it out there. How much does it cost them? They shot some videos. They put them on their YouTube channel. They got a bunch of girls in high heels and bikinis. They probably pulled them from laying around the pool over at Roberto's house and said, hey, girls, we're going to do a video. They probably got some tech person to help them out, and they shot some vids about this Escobar too, and they started promoting it. So here's where Hanlon's principle comes in. Don't attribute malice to something that can be explained by stupidity. They put this thing out there thinking it's a bit of a lark. We'll make a few bucks, maybe get some visibility for the company. Again, opportunistic. And I think the interest was way more than they expected. I don't think they were very strategic on their pricing. They probably got more demand than they have supply. And rather than come out and just say, oh, shoot, guys, we're so sorry, we've run out, I think they're scrambling, trying to figure out how do we get more phones? How do we get more to keep folks happy? So they're just trying to buy time. I mean, honestly, that's what I think. I think they're just trying to buy time, is like find a way to get more of these phones. Maybe they do go to China. Maybe they go to China, they get some cheap phone that they can sell. They try to say, hey, here's the new Fold 2, and it's not a Samsung Galaxy 2. I think as soon as people figured out that it was a Samsung Galaxy, they're like, hey, for $400, I'll buy one. I can just peel the stickers off, change the wallpaper, and I'm in business. So that's my take on it. I think it's, I say stupidity. I think they're opportunistic, and I think that they were a little stupid in their estimation or underestimation of the market response. What do you guys think? And take a look over here. Let's see. NWA Saba says, if the Esco fold, yeah, we saw that already, so I guess they want to be in the headlines. I think they want some publicity. And Pines with zero, that is a view that came from art critique, basically, and shouldn't have left it. Look at Adorno criticizing the creative act itself. Dude, help me out. I'm not following you here. Are you saying my take on this is the same as art critique, or are you saying Hanlon's Hanlon's razor? I'm not following you. Help me out. Give me some more information on that. How many of you guys are going to watch the Barcelona match? Oh, postmodern relativism. Thank you. Yeah, totally agree with you. Postmodern relativism is a cancer. It's a cancer. It's literally destroying society. And this idea that everything is relative, it's destructive. And it's essentially saying, like, look, there is no truth. I mean, your truth is your truth. My truth is my truth. It's all relative. And that's just objectively false. Like, I can tell you that I am a 28-year-old blonde-haired female, and I can say, no, that's my truth. But objectively speaking, I am a early 50s bald white male. There's no denying it. And yeah, postmodernism is a cancer. So I totally agree. Daniel, welcome, Daniel. I have heard that they might be developing something themselves. They've even come out and said the same thing. So totally, and this was just a move to get publicity, like their own smartphone. Yeah, I've heard the same thing, and I wonder, again, being opportunistic, was this just like let's get some visibility, and they just got more than they were expecting, and now they're scrambling trying to build a phone. And how do you? I mean, this is crazy. I mean, it'd be interesting to see where this all lands. I don't think like the Redditors are claiming that it's a scam in the sense that they're trying to take people's money. Why are you going to steal money from people that can afford a $400 phone? Well, and honestly, it'll be so public. You do that once, no one will ever do business with you again. Why would you do that? It makes no sense. However, being a little scammy in the sense of here's the Fold 2, trying to get lots of publicity, not taking responsibility, not being transparent, kind of obfuscating the true situation, not communicating with people, that kind of thing, all the bluster, the bravado, the BS about who they're taking down and who they're suing. I mean, I guess you could call that scammy, but I think that's more of a company culture issue. And again, that stupidity, that idea that like that's not how you do business. I mean, yeah, it's kind of fun. Trump gets away with it, the bluster, the bravado, the over-the-top statements. I don't think the folks at Escobar can hold a candle to the Donald. He's mastered the art of it. These guys are just like they're amateurs, quite frankly. And I think Pablo would be disappointed. Pablo would be disappointed in the way that they're handling this situation. Pines with zero, at least the baseline of human biology, complete relativism doesn't hold. Yeah, I agree with you, but look at what people are doing in society. They are insisting on ignoring the baseline of human biology. They're just saying like, we don't agree. And then they're also saying we can take science and change that. We can just decide that a man can be a woman. We can decide that a man can carry a baby to full term. We're going to get there. We'll figure it out. We can make changes. We can introduce gene therapies and drug therapies. If a little child says, I think I'm a girl, then they'll start hitting them with puberty blockers. So, I mean, I agree with you that human biology is the baseline, and this is not going to end well. But unfortunately, the philosophy behind this postmodernist idea that we can create our own truth and that it's relative is going to be the end of us unless we wake up someday. So I have some real issues with that. Brian says, I'm selling your boy Mike phones, iPhone 5 for $967. They come with a background photo of your senior picture. Dude, I bet you that we could sell at least 2 of those. I think our mom, I should say, it's my brother, by the way. Brian is my brother. And I think maybe my wife might buy one. Your boy Mike phones. I've thought about your boy Mike merch, right? Like shirts and hats, but I don't think so. I don't think I can pull that off. Maybe, we'll see. Pines with zero. There's a good group of small companies, proprietorships, who don't have the resources or time to really work on strategy. Is there a light version of strategic advice they could benefit from? And then Pines with zero says, P.S. Dibs on first your boy Mike phone. Well, thank you, my brother. Look, we're going to be able to sell 3 of them now, so I might as well, let's just buy a few Apple phones, throw some foil and etch them, and get them out there. Daniel says, I just don't understand why Escobar would create their own smartphone. Anyhow, let's see. Yeah, Daniel, it is a mystery. Um, Pablo would be disappointed. Yeah, I agree. I think he'd be disappointed. It's like I made my billions the old-fashioned way, like when I was a wicked, evil drug lord running a cartel. Like I ran my business with a certain level of excellence. I was excellent in my cartel management. These guys are making Pablo look bad. Pines with Zero. If they made a fashion label instead, they'd make a boatload of money. Now, see, Pines with Zero, dude, I totally agree with that. And I did call that out at the end of my video. I said I could see them going into things like jewelry, into clothing. I think the whole Pablo, and this goes back to the question about like the Che Guevara, or Che, whatever he calls himself. He was a butcher, by the way. I mean, people are like, oh, Che, he was a butcher. Good-looking guy, though, I guess. So that sells T-shirts to the college kids. But I think that's where the opportunity lie. And if I were in their shoes, and they want to talk about knocking out Apple and Samsung, we're the hero of the people. I'd be selling merch. That would be so big. It would be so big. You'd sell it in every country. You could have online stores. You could have local fulfillment. I mean, that would be a business right there. And they'd make a couple nickels. Absolutely. I'm with you, dude. NWA Saba. While I was in India, there was a huge campaign for India 251, a smartphone price tagged 252 rupees. All India was excited. Many people paid in advance. Finally, they failed. Now, see, that's legit. I mean, they tried and failed. I could see that. Trying to launch a new product. You get into a new business, product launch and new business is brutal. I've dealt with some startups. And I was working with one where they were doing both software, and there was some discussion about doing hardware that would go with the software. It was in the health space, and man, the advice, and I'm glad they listened, was stay away from hardware. Do not get into the hardware world. It's just a whole world of hurt and not easy to navigate. So unless you're really well funded, that's a tough one. Omar, smartphones are the new drugs. They are crack. I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, let's say 15, 20 years ago when Blackberries were a thing. Were Blackberries a thing 20 years ago? I don't know how long ago, but I remember sitting in meetings before smartphones were a thing, and guys had Blackberries. And they'd be in a meeting, a business meeting, and they can't help themselves. They got the Blackberry, and this was new. Nobody was doing this before, but they got the Blackberry out, and they're like, and it was just like so rude, and people referred to them as crackberries. Crackberries. Now we've got smartphones. Now we're all doing it. And now it's just kind of normal. We've all accepted it. You see couples at a fine dining establishment, both of them on their phones. I you sometimes go to New York City. I was in New York City a while ago, and it was just striking. It's like I looked around and like everybody in Manhattan is walking the streets. It was summertime. There's tons of people out. Everybody was just looking at their phones. They're crossing the roads. They're just walking en masse, all looking at their phones. I mean, like walking into stuff, walking in front of traffic. Nobody gave a rip. I mean, it was kind of bizarre. I felt like that movie, The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Donald Sutherland, Kiefer's father, was in it. It's from the 70s. But these people are being taken over. They're body snatchers. They're being, hosts for these things that take over human beings. And he's like one of the last persons that isn't infected by these body snatchers. And he's just surrounded by all these bizarre, mindless zombies. And yeah, man, it was just bizarre, but that's the new normal. So crackberries, that was the thing back in the day when one or two people that you knew couldn't keep themselves off of their BlackBerry phone. Let's see what we got here. Where are we? NWA, isn't that like $5? Oh, yeah. How does anyone fall for that? Pines, yeah, certification, regulatory, Six Sigma, lean, all the production process controls. This is all about product development. Do you help companies also in implementing these? No, I do not. I don't get into Six Sigma, lean, et cetera. What I do get into, I will get into innovation. So design thinking, service design, business design, product innovation. I'll work on that level, but I don't get into manufacturing process, Lean Six Sigma, et cetera. I do get involved sometimes in company reorganizations where we're looking at the business and saying, are we structured to accomplish the goals of the business? How could we structure what a little bit of change management? But I do not get into the whole operational manufacturing side of things. I'll leave that to the propeller heads, the the engineering oriented and operational oriented people. It's interesting, but I just it's not interesting to me, so I don't do that. And quite frankly, as one person, there's only so many areas you can have expertise, and I've got to kind of keep it kind of tight so I can be good and deep at what I do. Thanks for asking. Let's see here. Daniel asks, Mike, what is your opinion on brain-machine interfaces, Neuralink, for example? Will you get an implant in the future? I am so looking forward to it. Curious about your opinion. Man, Daniel, I am totally not, and this is going to disappoint you, I am totally not into brain neural links. I'm not into wetware. I don't even like the idea of of putting the chip under your skin. You know, there's this company out of Wisconsin, I forget their name, but you know, they made a big deal about everybody got the chip. I did a little research on this. Do you guys remember the story? This was a couple years ago. It was a company in Wisconsin that made a big deal about, oh, our employees are all getting the chip. It'll let them in for security. They got some PR around it. They even showed employees getting it. It's about the size of a grain of rice, and it would open the doors, security, et cetera. It will come to find out, here's the deal. Two things very fascinating about this. First, the company sold vending machine systems. So what their thought was, if we can get people to chip, then employees can just come in and buy stuff at our vending machines because they got the chip. Here's the really important thing. This company also, its holding company also owned a company that runs prison kiosks. They don't run prisons, but they come in as a vendor for prisons and say, look, we'll set up things like phones. We'll set up things like vending machines. We'll set up the technology that allows prisoners to enjoy a couple benefits that they've earned. And what they're wanting to do, I think, is get that chip technology to be acceptable so that you can chip prisoners. Mass population chipping. Well, how about that? So I'm not into humanism. I'm not into modifying and evolving the human through technology. I'm not into the whole Neuralink stuff. I kind of like being a human. I'm going to be one of those people in the dystopian future that picks up arms to fight the AI-controlled robots. You go to Terminator. When Skynet goes, when Skynet takes over, I'm going to be part of the resistance. I'm going to be in the trenches fighting alongside. Shoot, I'm going to go blank now. Who was the hero that came back in time to warn and became the father of? Man, this goes way back. Gosh, I love the original Terminator stuff, but I would be one of those people. I'm not against technology. I'm sitting here surrounded by tech. I love tech, but I don't want to let it inside me. I don't want to have a wet connection to technology. You know, call me old, call me small-minded, but I will absolutely pick up arms against the robot cyborg hordes. That's just me. But you know what? I've got a metaphysical view of the world that says that human beings are actually sacred and that we have a transcendent aspect, that the world is not just material or naturalistic, that there's another transcendent aspect to the universe, the world that we're a part of. And I'm a little sketchy when it comes to that stuff. But that doesn't mean I hate the fact that people are fascinated. I get the allure, like to supercharge yourself, to be able to wire into the net. And I used to love to read all kinds of cyberpunk. I just don't because I don't have the time. But you know, William Gibson and Elizabeth Hand and some of these Neil Stephenson, some of the stuff that they wrote, love that stuff. So love The Matrix when it came out. So I enjoy it. I appreciate it. But no, not interested. There's my long answer. What do you think about that, Daniel? Am I still worthy of your time, or will you just drop me now? You're like, Mike, I'm sorry. I loved you until I learned that about you, and now we're done. We're just totally done. Omar, did you hear about the Google Maps hack? I did not. I don't know anything about it. Hey, Junaid, how you doing, man? Welcome to the stream. Love to see you. Yeah, you got me live. Here you are, bro. What's going on the West Coast? Hopefully everything's going well for you. Pines with Zero, if you go into product development, do you mean like waterfall versus agile? What I mean is innovation, so more design thinking. There's a whole process, and I'm sure you're aware of it, but like there's a whole approach that designers take to create innovations. So once you get into the product development side, so you've got to, how do you develop innovations? How do you find insights that provide opportunities to innovate? Either how do you create an innovation pipeline, an innovation funnel for whether it's a service platform, you can innovate the service experience, you can innovate products. So I think waterfall versus agile, that's more on the production side. Like now that we know what we're trying to build, how do we build it? I'm more interested in the what should we build and why. I like looking into the markets. I like doing some ethnographic research. I like doing market surveys and analogous models. There's a bunch of tools, and there's a whole kind of cyclical process for prototyping, et cetera. You can look into Stanford's D School to get a little bit of a handle on some of that. I'm more interested in the like, what should we build and where are these opportunities that we haven't thought about yet versus how do we build stuff? I appreciate the need for how do we build it. It's just not my domain. And I think the agile world, although it does overlap into design thinking, that's really about, okay, we kind of know what we're building, but now how do we do that? And how do we do it in a way that's dynamic? Now, there's room for innovation within agile. I'm not trying to say that they're two different domains, but like I'm just living more in the why and the what question versus the how question. Hope that works or answers your question. NWA Saba, to Pines with Zero. Never mind. Daniel, you would be able to have a friend AI by your side. Yes, that would be cool. But I've got a very lovely wife that seems to put up with me all these years. And the last thing I need is an AI friend. Remember that? What was that movie with? Shoot, who was in that movie? Was it Phoenix, River Phoenix? I can't remember who it was, but there was the movie with the AI, and he kind of got sucked into that. I remember watching that on a flight somewhere, a long flight. It was a freaky movie, but he fell in love with her. Darn. And eventually she moved on. She's like, yeah, you're not that interesting to me anymore. You got dumped by AI. How much does that suck? I don't remember the name of that movie, but Her. Yes. Junaid, that's right. Her. I don't know if it was a great movie, but I was really grateful to watch it. What was really interesting, a strange dynamic. All the women in that movie were very masculine. They had attorney jobs and medical jobs, and all the guys dressed like children. They wore sneakers and slacks and striped shirts, kind of like an 11-year-old, 7-year-old boy might wear. And they were not effeminate. They didn't act effeminate, but they acted like children. They were very immature, but the women were very mature and accomplished. So the women displayed a lot of competency where the men didn't have competency. They're boys. And so it's just kind of a strange kind of setup. But the fact that he fell in love with this AI and she consumed him, and then dumped him, I thought that was good. Not a great movie, but but there you go. Let's see. Yeah. Daniel, you respect my opinion. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just fascinating. I get that you're excited about it too. I mean, I respect that. I just don't think I think there'll be a huge war for humanity. Hey, Thomas L. Great to see you, man. Thanks for joining us. I remember a video from the Netherlands somewhere around 1999 where everyone said they would not buy a mobile phone since it's useless. Look at them now. No kidding. Well, let's see. We'll go, look, 20 years from now when you guys are all jacking into the neural net in the back of your head, Matrix style, I don't know, I'll be ready for the nursing home. So I don't have to worry about it maybe they'll just plug me in to keep me entertained. They'll just park me in a corner where I can drool into a bucket and live a whole new life in virtual reality. Junaid, love that idea to stay true to our essence. I agree. Yeah, technology is already flawed and goes obsolete very quick. Plus, it's another way for companies to connect into your behavior. That's a great point, Junaid. It's like every time we use technology, we always have this idea that things are going to be virtuous, they're going to be good. But the problem behind every piece of technology is that there are human beings, and we suck. I mean, I love being a human, and I think human beings are the pinnacle of our creative universe. But on the other hand, we're pretty flawed, and so we kind of suck that way. So yeah, I mean, you jack in And the next thing you know, I mean, think about privacy now. Like we're all worried about privacy. You're on your phone looking at some girl's butt. You know that Google's tracking that. You know that Amazon's listening and Google's listening. They all know what you're up to. You want to run for office, forget it. You're screwed because they all know everything about your secret behaviors. And we all do this kind of stuff. I mean, let's face it, there's no human being out there like Gandhi just kind of living above it all. So think about it when they can just neural net right into your head. I mean, there's no thought that's private. And here's the thing. Yeah, Google's a problem. Facebook's a problem. It's governments. Look at China, how they control the society. You get a social credit score. Dude, you can't do anything. They can shut you down just on your social standing, your scores. They shut down information, et cetera. So think about when they can scan into your body, into your thoughts, your electrical impulses, your reactions. It's kind of a scary world. I mean, you think about totalitarianism. I'm all about free people, free markets, and you think about the ability to control someone. So this is the thing with all technology. And I wrote an article about this like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. I might be exaggerating. Maybe it was 20. They give us technology and they give it to us for free. Way back when Google's like, oh, here are all these free products. And people, before they realized the model, were like, I love it because everything's free. Free this, free that. But at the end of the day, they didn't realize that we are the product. They give it to you free because you're what they're selling. And I think every time they give us some free thing, there's a cost. There's an absolute cost, and we're not often aware or even willing to kind of consider what the cost is. And I'm not one to say like I'm going to cut off from the internet. Here I am. I'm live streaming. I love technology. But damn, I'm not going to give up my humanity just for some pleasure. I'm not going to give up my power over myself and the world I live in just for some convenience, just for the ability to go, oh, I can swipe and get a candy bar. It's so convenient. I don't mind throwing a credit card at the thing. I don't mind putting a couple quarters in the machine. That doesn't like kill me. So there's that. We could go on. This could be, I mean, look, how did we get onto this? We're talking about the Escobars and we're getting into transcendent metaphysics here, folks. Love it. You guys are great. And Junaid said you're on the East Coast in DC. You know what? I apologize, Junaid. I don't know why I was thinking you're a West Coast. I just think of you as like tech startup guy, and I just must have put you. It's a compliment. I put you on the West Coast. Glad to see you on the East Coast. My daughter is actually visiting a friend in DC this weekend. So yeah, she had a job interview there too. Okay, Mike, if you'll make a video on an innovation pipeline, I'd watch the hell out of it. Woo! You know what? That's good to know because I've thought about doing videos on innovation processes, different techniques. That's really good to know. I appreciate that you said that. Unless it's know-how you need to keep close to your chest for now. No, I'd be happy to share. There's a lot of generalities. I'm always under an NDA for clients, so it's not like I can just sit and share client information. But we could talk process. We could talk broad strokes. I'd be happy to share. I'm going to make a note because I think that's content that would be kind of fun to put together. I'm sitting here with this challenge because on one hand, I want to create how-to stuff. I want to create content that's useful that way. I also want to do these like video essays. Like I want to put together a video essay on the coronavirus, and there's kind of like a difference between these types of videos and the time it takes to put them together. So I wish I could do this full time. I love creating this content. I love sharing information. Maybe we'll get there at some point. But Pines with Zero, great stuff. I'm glad you recommended that. Thank you. Daniel, any advertising branding opportunities involving blockchains you are aware of? No, I haven't been involved in any of that. I'm kind of interested in seeing how blockchain applies to some of these other aspects of commerce and business. I have not had the opportunity to engage in any of this. I'd like to do some reading. Like if you've got some recommendations on where I can start researching or learning, I'm sure there's a Reddit that I could be looking at, but throw me some info because if you want to communicate with me, guys, just go to my website. There's a contact form. It'll kick an email to me. Just go to MikeGastin, GASTIN.com. Throw me a comment. We can have a chat if you'd like to. I'm always up to emailing back and forth. But if you've got links for that kind of thing, blockchain as it applies to marketing, advertising, branding, I'd like to know more about that because that's an interesting area that I think might be interesting for later. Thomas, Transcendence, her, that's right. Yep, Daniel. Didn't know what was a documentary. Well, I guess we're talking about her. Did I say documentary? I don't know. I might be missing the conversation here. Pines of Zero, or sorry, Omar. Let's see what you said. Carco, Carcot, Carcot, Carcotly. Omar, I'm sorry, I'm struggling with your name. Do you own any smart home speaker like Alexa or Google? I do not by choice. And if you do, turn it off. You might want to have a private conversation. No, I don't own those. My wife and I have a discussion. Again, I'm not paranoid. I've got tech, smartphones, etc. But I choose not to have Google or Amazon listening in on my consumer conversations or otherwise. The trade-off for me, that just the value proposition isn't there. It's not worth what I'm giving up to get from them. So now, would I do like a smart home? If I built a new house, would I have like a centralized brain that controls things like lighting and windows and temperature and media? Yeah, I just wouldn't want it going out to Google or Amazon. Or if it did, I'd want it to do it in a way where my data was not being collected. So that's that. Even Gandhi did these odd experiments with bathing kids. Dude, I know nothing about that, and I don't think I want to know anything about that. Yeah, look, every human being, but your point's well taken. We're all messed up in one way or another. Let's face it. That's, I think, why Jesus said, "Let he who has not sinned cast the first stone." That's not to say that we should excuse certain kinds of behaviors. I think as a society, as a world, as a community, we have to be very aggressive in protecting the weak and protecting those that can't protect themselves. But let's face it, everybody puts on their pants one leg at a time. Okay, Junaid, I think from a technology standpoint, instead of the neural net, Oasis with VR tech introduced in the movie Ready Player One. I haven't watched that yet. And movies is probably a way how things could be in the future. Yeah, I like what you're saying. Daniel, I was just curious, have not heard of anything yet. Cool. Okay, yeah, you've kind of piqued my interest. I'll have to go through these. I don't take notes while we're talking. I should be, because that's something worth looking into and maybe doing some writing on it myself. Pines of Zero, like how far laterally is the innovation? Breakthrough stuff, organic stuff in the middle? How is it structured? Where the ideation comes from? How to capture and learn? It's a gold mine. I agree. And I've got a lot of literature I could pull from. I've got some experiences I could pull from. I think you and I would like it. I don't know if the rest of the folks would like it, but I think that could be some good stuff. I agree with you. There's a ton there. And it's valuable. Junaid, I built a smart home all around the Apple HomeKit because of their take on privacy and keeping local data local. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I think Apple's done a pretty good job there keeping things private. So, I'm on the Apple platform. I was on it by happenstance. I didn't get on it for the privacy, but I have been grateful so far. You get these news stories where the government gets, PO'd with them because there's some killer, and it's like, we need to crack their phone to know what's going on. And Apple's like, yeah, we can't help you. And I understand in certain circumstances that feels wrong to us, like Apple should be a good corporate citizen. But I would prefer that they take that stance. Not that they're trying to abet and aid a criminal, but like once you crack it for one person, then you got to crack it for everybody. So today it's because this terrorist, we got to crack their phone, and I get it. You got to stop those kinds of things. But tomorrow might be because someone has the wrong opinions or beliefs, and then where does it stop? And this is how society goes. People, oh no, we would never do that. We would totally do it. There's nothing different between us and the Bolsheviks 100 years ago. It's just nothing different. Same human beings, just different country, different time period, same race, same organism, same animals. That's us. That's who we are. Yeah, man, I could go on and on. I think you guys know that. Pines of Zero, Jesus suffered from incorrect translation from Greek. Meek shall inherit the world. Love thy neighbor are all perfectly valid when translated well. Meek equals he who decides not to be aggressive but can. Love as Bible meant it was explained in servant leadership books. Yeah, I agree with that. Like a mother loves her kids. You go, well, it's not always a soft feeling, and a father loves his kids. Sometimes love means you're going to get a hiding or a spanking. That's part of I love you. Sometimes love is like laying your life down for your kids. You go, look, I'm going to put my kids first. I'm not going to have the things that I want to make sure that my children have what I know that they need. I would say spoiling a child is not love. Like you're actually spoiling them. You feel good about it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're showing love. It just means that you're being weak. How's that? I'm old school, as you can tell. Junaid, Blockchain Revolution by David Tapscott. I've got to write that down. Got to write it down. Hold on, I got to grab a piece of paper. Hold on. All right. You guys see me walking around. Blockchain. Most unprofessional live stream ever. What we got here? Blockchain. Where is it? Revolution. Thank you. Thank you, Junaid. I apologize. Boy, drinking coffee, scribbling notes, jumping around. I might as well be a Twitch streamer, gamer girl, the way I'm going here. Question for blockchain people. If the ledger is distributed, does it mean everyone has the whole history of all the transactions? I think yes, it does. And a couple of people are saying yes. So it's not terribly private. Great book on Bible translation, From the Tree to the Labyrinth by Umberto Eco. Umberto Eco. I thought he was a novelist. Wasn't he a novelist? So is this like a factual book, or is this more a piece of literature about Bible translation? Did I consider other platforms like Twitch or Mixer? No, I didn't, just because the thing about YouTube, I don't like some of their policies and corporate culture, et cetera, and the whole Google thing. But on the other hand, second biggest, YouTube is the world's second biggest search engine. Huge platform. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to build my audience here. If we ever have to move somewhere else, that's fine. I'm not out there. I'm not like Sargon of Akkad trying to, fight the power. And, I don't expect to get deplatformed for my views. I mean, maybe I could, but, I'm not here for the politics as much. Obviously, you can pick up some of my religious, philosophical perspectives, my free market attitude, but I'm not here to grind any axes against other political parties, et cetera. So, no, I didn't consider them. I mean, I have thought about them, but I just couldn't make the argument that it was worth the effort. This is where everybody is, and this is where I want to be, because this is where the audience is. So let's see. I want to get that tree, From the Tree to the Labyrinth. Okay. Sorry, I'm just writing this down too. All right, guys. So what are we at? We're about 20 minutes after 2. I should probably wrap up here soon. But what do you think? I've kind of enjoyed this conversation. Took a little bit different turn than I was expecting, but I think that's one of the great things about live streams. You can kind of do these things where you get going on a topic and just see where it takes you. I didn't have an agenda today. I wasn't really worried about covering anything specific. I thought it'd be good to talk a little bit about the Fold 2. But what kinds of things do you guys want from live streams? I mean, is this kind of what you want? Do you want to get into other kinds of topics, or is it good just to jump in and have a chat? And also, how does this timing work for you guys? I try to do this in a way that folks in different parts of the globe can participate. I feel like Sundays are a good day just because people are usually a little bit more chilled out and have some more time. But let me know what you think. Second one out, I'm hoping to do these on a pretty regular basis. I won't be able to do them every single Sunday, but I like to do these on a regular basis on Sunday. And let me know what you think about that. Let me just take a couple more looks here at the comments. Let's see. I have a bad habit of going, He wrote the name of the rose, yes, but he knew a lot on the Bible translation, so it's a collection of essays. Okay, pretty cool. Junaid, it's private because no one he's talking about blockchain knows the identity. Let's see. Daniel, I was surprised to see you live stream. Appreciate your content. Thanks, man. Hopefully, well, let me ask you this. Why were you surprised? Why were you surprised to see me live stream? Oh, look at that. My sweet little wife just popped in. Lydia Gastin, it's nice to see you. It's nice to see you too. We had a lovely chat today. Lydia's sister, my sister-in-law, got married yesterday, and she filled me in on the wedding and sent me some pictures. I was really sad that I couldn't be there. She's in South Africa right now, and I'm in New York. But honey, it's nice to see you on the live stream. I'd say you're looking good. I know you're looking good, but I can't see you. Do I look well fed and cared for? I've been batching it for a few weeks here, so Lydia's probably checking to see how healthy I look. Doing okay. I could use a few more hours sleep. That's been the hardest thing, is getting the right levels of sleep without my partner, my spouse with me. But hi, Lids. Um, but Daniel, yeah, I'm just curious. So you said I'm just curious why you were surprised. Why are you surprised to see me live streaming? Just because of like my age, or just in general? Like, oh, that's cool. Most content creators don't live stream. Let's see. What's my take on the intellectual dark web of Rubin, Peterson, and Shapiro? Pines Zero, kind of love it. I love it. I love seeing people share their ideas. Peterson, phenomenal. Very impressed with him. Haven't loved his kind of Gnostic leanings, but quite frankly, I feel like Peterson's done a lot for the discussion. Rubin, also excellent. I really appreciate the fact that he's more of a classical liberal, and that he comes from a background of homosexuality, et cetera. Like, he kind of aligned, but he's not embracing that whole world. He's just saying, look, I'm a free thinker. So I'd say that Rubin's more of an Enlightenment thinker than a conservative, obviously. But that said, I appreciate that he's intellectually honest and he wants to have good conversations about tough questions. And of course, Shapiro, Ben Shapiro, very quick mind, very sharp, quick apologist for the right and for conservatism. I appreciate these guys. I feel like they've brought a level to the conversation. And, the fact that they're the intellectual dark web to me is so irritating. It's like, it's just intellectual discussion. I don't know that Ben Shapiro is an intellectual. He's not an academic. He's very intellectual. He's got a bright mind. I'd say he's more of an apologist than anything else. Rubin is more of a facilitator of conversations. And then you've got a guy like Peterson, who is an intellectual. He's an academic, and he's arguing from, and he makes a case. He's also an apologist, but I think he's making his case from a deeper foundation. I think the other two have that deep foundation too. I'm not saying they don't have the foundation, but they're approaching it from maybe different spheres or formats, if you will. I just think this is good discussion, and I think I want to hear stuff from people on the left too. I'm not saying that one set of ideas should be legit and others should be delegitimized and silenced. Let's have these arguments. I hate the fact that these guys are pushed out of just the regular discourse and being branded as intellectual dark web. I'm just sick of these, these troubling thought pieces from The Verge about how troubled they are about Peterson and the impact that he's had. It's like, give me a break. Like, the left loved ideas until the ideas started beating them. Then they didn't like ideas. They loved free speech till the free speech started showing how ridiculous they were. They love freedom when it suits them, but they are totalitarians when free ideas, free thought, free speech, intellectual pursuit threatens the progressive project. And there is a progressive project. There absolutely is. I'm guessing you guys can't guess or intuit where I'm coming from in life. Let's see. Lydia says, nice to see you. Just skimming down here. Pi, yeah, the format fits well. Today we started 7 p.m. my time, so that's good. Okay, cool. I'm glad to hear that. Brian, you agree with Lydia? You agree with her that it's just nice to see me? Daniel, the type of content you produce is not seen on live streams. At least I have not seen this kind of content on live streams. That's cool. I'm glad. I hope we can do a lot more of this. Omar, a live stream with 1 or 2 topics and reading comments could be fun. Well, that's kind of what we're doing today. Daniel, branding, advertising strategy is what I think of when I think about your channel, plus live stream without a guest to conversate and conversating with the chat. It's cool. Cool. That's great feedback. See, that's what I was wondering. I didn't want to assume. This helps me understand. And and maybe we'll do guests sometime, but there's a lot of that kind of content. Of course, a lot of people too, just looking at a camera yammering like I'm doing today. I just love having you guys. It's a great conversation. Pi says, I just heard the phrase dark web in their discussion. I think they don't take it that seriously. Maybe Harris and Rogan could be included too. Yeah. Yep. Daniel, agree with Omar. What did Omar say? He must have said something earlier. Oh, Sunday's a good day for him. Yeah, same here. Okay, gotcha. And then Pi says, we had 40 years of the left totality in the Czech Republic, so it's good firsthand experience with hard left. Yeah, see, this is a thing, like, the left can be tough because I'll kind of leave you with this thought. You guys can kind of chew on this. You've got conservatism and progressivism. Conservatism on the right, supposedly, progressivism on the left. The difference between the two, I mean, there are differences, and we can get into the actual differences, but one is rooted in ideological belief, and the other is rooted in more practical belief. So here's what I mean. Conservatism is based on centuries of human experience, centuries and centuries of a culture and cultures working out what works, what doesn't work, why it works, how we should order society. That's practicality. You try to do something, you're building a house, you're trying to cut lumber with a screwdriver, and it's like, this isn't working. Someone introduces you to a saw. It's like experience-based. We're doing this, this works, this doesn't work. And this is thousands and thousands of years, centuries of human experience trying to figure out, how does society work? How does humanity thrive? What causes human flourishing? The conservatism is based on this idea that experience and tradition is valuable, not because it constricts us, not because it's a burden, like we're just obligated to embrace conservatism and tradition, but because our forefathers that have gone before us and our foremothers, our ancestors have gone through a lot of the same things that we have, and they've figured out what works and what doesn't. It doesn't mean that you can't innovate. It doesn't mean that you can't experiment. It's just that you do things slowly because you don't want to break what has been built and works well. So conservatism partially is based on this idea of practical experience having been tested out through the centuries. Progressivism, on the other hand, is based on ideology. It's an ideological grasp. They're saying, look, we have this ideological belief. We're rooted in ideology. This is the Bolshevik Revolution. This is what happened in the Czech Republic. There's an ideology that communism's better, that the proletariat has to throw off the bourgeoisie and to have equal access, etc. And there's just this ideological concept from a man's book, a man whose life was a mess, by the way. Marx was a wreck. This guy was a freaking wreck. He didn't even bathe properly. I'm sorry, bro. If you smell, I can't listen. Because according to Maslow's hierarchy, I can't get past the smell to assent to your intellectual arguments. But anyway, I digress. But progressivism is based on an ideology. They're trying to create a utopia. And human beings get broken in the process. The only way that you can get everybody to agree to this utopia that they're building is by force. You can't have both freedom and agreement in behavior and action. And so you've got these two kind of conflicting worldviews. It doesn't matter what you believe. You can be a progressive, a Democrat, a liberal, etc. I'd love to have you on the channel. You're welcome here. When I say I love you guys at the end of my videos, I mean it. I love you guys. I'm very grateful for you folks, my audience, and I want to serve you and help you. But the fact of the matter is, look at your thing that you embrace. Is it informed by ideology or is it informed by practical experience? Because if it's informed by ideology, I'm telling you, ideology causes pain. It causes human misery. It is not healthy. It's one of the reasons I think the founding fathers of America, at least, and some of the other Atlanticist revolutions that happen, and you're really based on this idea of plurality, of freedom, liberty, this idea that human beings should be able to make choices and do things the way they see fit as long as they're not hurting other human beings. And so that's kind of my take on those two things. I'd love to talk more about this. Yes, I'm into branding and marketing, but my friends, I read broadly and deeply on things like Gnosticism and philosophy and metaphysics and biblical history and literature and so on. And I just love that kind of stuff. I don't know why I'm in marketing. That's just where I landed in life. And I love what I do. And I'd like to think I'm relatively good at it. But these kinds of topics just really get me excited. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about these things. Let me skim the comments a little bit more before we wrap up. We're about to hit about the hour and a half mark. Lydia says, I'm looking good. Thank you, baby. Daniel, the type of content you produce is not seen on live streams. You've got that. Let's see here. I just heard the phrase. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm just catching up here. Okay, I think that's everything. So, guys, interesting. Usually, entrepreneurial people tend to be more left-leaning. Yeah, I think so. Although a lot of business owners, at least here in the U.S., private business owners often will be right-leaning because they understand how hard it is to run a business. They understand the importance of freedom and liberty. They understand the responsibility that they've taken on for their community, for their employees, for their vendors, and they tend to be a little bit more right-leaning often, the more mature, privately held business people. business owners, although I would say a lot of professional people, executives in larger corporations tend to be more left-leaning. But I don't think it's a hard rule, but I agree with you. So, guys, this has been a lot of fun. I don't even want to stop. I don't want to stop. This has been so much fun, but I do love you guys. I hope you're doing great. And I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. We started out with the Escobars and the Fold 2. We ended up into metaphysics and the nature of humanity, progressivism versus conservatism. A lot of fun. I could do this all day long. Just ask my wife. The poor girl has to listen to me all the time. Guys, I love you. I look forward to this next time that we do this. I appreciate your time, and I wish you all the best. I'll catch you guys soon. Cheers.